We know there's still some people coming, but before we get started, if we just stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Yeah, I know.
Is that? Is there a flag? I didn't even know. Is there a flag? Right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Before we get going, just wanted to thank everybody who was here last week for coming out again tonight. And those who weren't here last week and who are here tonight, thank you too, because we wouldn't be here without you. So having said that, just before we get going again, if we can just have the people up here introduce themselves, we can start down the end.
William Dunn.
Watson.
Michael Wood.
Bill O'Neill.
Denise Stemkowski.
Bill Hewig, Town Council.
Ann Brody, Town Clerk.
And with that, we're going to turn it over to Ann. Could you go ahead?
To Jeffrey T. Gillen, Chief of Police in the Town of Groveland in the County of Essex. In the name of the Commonwealth, you are hereby required to notify and warn the inhabitants of said town who are qualified to vote in this special town meeting to meet at the Dr. Elmer S. Bagnell School, 253 School Street, on Monday, December 3rd, 2018, at 7 p.m. to vote on the following articles.
All right, thank you. Article 1, to see if the town will vote to amend the Town of Groveland General Bylaws Section 2-42 by adding new revolving fund, the Pines Maintenance Revolving Fund, as authorized by Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half of Mass General Laws as set forth below, and further to allow the Finance Director to expend funds not to exceed $20,000 during fiscal year 2019 from said account for ongoing maintenance of the Pines, or take any other action relative thereto. The Board of Selectmen recommend favorable action. The Finance Board recommends favorable action. Do we have a motion and a second? All right, we have a motion and a second for favorable action. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll have a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. It's unanimous. Article 2, to see if the town will vote to make the following transfers or take any other action relative thereto. Transfer from cemetery part-time wages to cemetery full-time wages. You can see the amounts there, they're $5,000. Then highway part-time wages, $2,500 to highway road maintenance. This is Board of Selectmen recommend favorable action. The Finance Board recommends favorable action. We have a motion and a second. Yeah, it can come from anybody. Did you hear a motion and a second? Yep. Okay. So discussion. Any questions? Go ahead and just state your name and then ask your question.
You want me on the mic?
Is there one? Yes. Okay. I'm sorry. The mics are on either side. Those are all of them, right?
Dick Hodges, 35 Union Street, Groveland, Turtleville, USA. The cemetery funds for the part-time wages, have those people been fired and we're bringing that money over to full-time people?
Who can answer for us?
I believe the cemetery commissioners are here.
I'm Mike Castronell, Cemetery Commission. No one's been let go or fired. Can you hear me now? Yep. Thank you. No, nobody has been let go or replaced. We just needed to shuffle our part-time wages to accommodate a new employee and the duties that were extended for the rest of the fiscal year.
Thank you. Any other questions?
And may I assume that's also true of the highway department?
I don't know. Let's find out.
So I can speak on that. The highway department, they budget for part-time wages for the recycling center and leaf pickup and things like that. It's just not needed, and they need money in their road maintenance account.
Okay. Seeing no other questions, we'll take a vote. All in favor of Article 2, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. It's unanimous. Okay, Article 3. To see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to petition the Mass General Court to enact legislation to allow Joseph Santapalo a member of the Groveland Fire Department to continue to serve in his position as Lieutenant EMT up to the age of 70 as set forth below, provided, however, that the General Court may make clerical or editorial changes of form only to the bill unless the Board of Selectmen approve amendments to the bill before enactment by the General Court, and authorizing the Board of Selectmen to approve amendments which shall be within the scope of the general public objectives of the petition or take any other action relative thereto. Said the article was submitted by Captain Santapala and approved by the Board of Selectmen. So this is the act down below. It says an act authorizing the town of Groveland to continue the employment of Joseph Santapala as fire lieutenant, being enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives, General Court assembled, and by the authority the same as follows. Section 1. Do you all want me to read all of this? I know that I need to, unless... Is that... Bill, do I need to read all this? No. All right. All in favor of suspending the reading? Opposed? Thank you. And let's just take a minute. Is anybody that has a problem with that? I want to make sure that nobody feels left out. That's okay? Okay. Then take a minute and read it, and then we'll carry on. All right, the Board of Selectmen recommend favorable action. Do we have a motion and a second? We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Right over here. Yep.
I'm Joseph Sinapala. I'm the person you would kind of vote on. I just want to give you a face and name.
Yeah, just speak into the mic, please. Thank you.
If I face you so you can see me. I'm just requesting a consideration of the home rule petition regarding me staying on department past 65. I've been an active member since 2004. I've always responded to any call I could. I'm active in trainings. I'm a firefighter 1-2 certification. I'm a Mass EMT basic, CPR instructor, hazmat first responder trained, area later arson detector trained, hot work trained, and numerous other national trainings, 700, 100, 200, 300, which is the national command structure. I believe I've been an asset. And like to continue to be doing so as long as I'm able. In the packet I submitted to them, I gave them doctor's notes and so you can relieve some fears of the age thing. I just hoping for your vote. Thank you. If there's any questions?
Thank you. Nobody wants to refute all that good stuff? All right. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. It's unanimous. Okay, Article 4, to see whether the town will vote as authorized by Chapter 256 of the Acts of 2010, codified as Chapter 6, Section 172B and a half, Mass General Laws, to enact a bylaw as set forth below, enabling the police department to conduct state and federal fingerprint-based criminal history checks for individuals applying for the following licenses. 1, hawking and peddling or other persons soliciting canvassing. 2, manager of alcoholic beverages license. 3, owner or operator of public conveyance. 4, dealer of secondhand articles. 5, pawn dealers. 6, hackney drivers. 7, ice cream truck vendors. And to authorize the Board of Selectmen to adopt appropriate policies and procedures to effectuate the purpose of this bylaw or take any other action relative thereto. The article was submitted by the police chief and approved by the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen recommend favorable action. Do we have a motion and a second? Second. So do we have a motion and a second and any discussion? Yep, right up here.
Sean Donahue, 18 Bear Hill. Can the town cite any cases where fingerprinting at citizens for the licensing?
Yeah. Yeah, you got to get it. You can pull it up and you can just get it right up close.
All right, how's that? Better?
Yeah, you can see like this. You got to lean kind of right into it.
Can you hear me now? Yes. Can the town cite any cases where fingerprinting at citizens for the licenses would have prevented a crime? These people constitute the smallest of small businesses. Why would we want to treat them like criminals and then add insult to injury by charging them $100?
Anyone care to respond to that? Is the chief here? Jeff, would you?
Hi, good evening, and happy Hanukkah. My name's Jeff Gillen. I'm your police chief, and I did submit this request and got support from the Board of Selectmen. To answer the question, no, I can't say that this has prevented anything in the past. The reason I want this is part of my job is to sign off on these licenses for the folks that want to go around door to door, and I can't do my job without being able to check people out, and this is what this does. Federal law prohibits me from running federal background checks on folks for door-to-door and ice cream trucks and all the other things that were mentioned. I can't assure that these people are safe to go to your door. What this does is this is just somebody that wants to apply, and it's up to $100. The Board of Selectmen can decide what they want to charge. But this is an accurate and a thorough way to find out if somebody is wanted or has a history that's criminal that is concerning to the residents of Groveland. Right now, all I can do is just check more in-house and find out if we had any interaction with somebody. But you could have a murderer from Florida that's here going door to door, banging on your door at night or in the morning, and I can't tell you if they're a good guy or a bad guy. So, again, part of my job is to be thorough, and I think I owe it to the residents of this town to do as much as I can. And again, this is the only way that I can really have some more assurance that when I sign off on that permit that I've done all that I can to check them out. And they would know that they're going to be fingerprinted. If something comes back that they don't agree with, they can review it and appeal it. They can go to the Board of Selectmen if they don't like my denial on a permit. But we don't have a lot of them, but the few that we do have, again, I want to check them out accurately, and I think this will also be a deterrent from keeping people that probably shouldn't be going door to door in Groveland.
All right, thank you. Further discussion?
One more question.
Yep.
Why does this have to be done in a special meeting? Is there some rush that constitutes doing this now in a special meeting and not making it in the actual full-blown town meeting?
Would somebody like to respond to that? The question was, why is this being done tonight at a special town meeting instead of at annual town meeting in the spring? And we're hoping the selectmen can answer that for us.
It's really just to start the process. I mean, to delay it to regular town meeting means a delay of another 6 months, which means a delay of his Chief Gillen really examining some of these people for another 6 months. And we just didn't feel it was warranted to wait another 6 months to know who's knocking door to door in our streets.
Further questions?
Can I make a statement?
Just state your name, please.
Kathy Meltsakos, Baldwin Terrace, Groveland. As an educator, we're all fingerprinted, and I think this is a really good thing for our town to protect us. I urge you all to support it.
Any further discussion? All right, let's take a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. It is majority passes. The next article is, again, kind of lengthy. I think it might be best if somebody wants to make a motion to suspend the reading, but I will give you plenty of time to read it. Does somebody want to make that motion? Is there a motion? Did I hear a second about suspending the reading? Yeah. Okay, all in favor of suspending the reading, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. All right, and when you're done reading, just look up so I know that you're done reading, okay? And when pretty much everyone's looking up, we'll carry on. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, Article 5, to see if the town will vote to amend the town's general bylaw by adding Chapter 7, Section 8, civil fingerprinting bylaw that would provide as follows, and further to amend the table of contents to add Section 7.8. So go ahead and continue reading. I just wondered because these people. Okay, I think it looks like most everybody's all set. So, read that. I didn't ask for a motion in a second, did I? So, do we have a motion in a second under this article? Somebody want to move favorable action? Do you have a second? Okay, let's have discussion. Any discussion? Sure. Yeah, she. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead if it's. I'll relay it.
The question is, once the police gather the information, the fingerprints.
Oh, we got it. Thank you.
Okay, once you fingerprint someone and you find out you've documented their criminal history, whatever it is, then what happens? Can you send them away, or do you take any other action besides putting it in the record?
If we found they had a criminal record that disqualified them, then their permit would be denied.
What disqualifies them?
There'd be a list of violent crimes or assaults, mostly felonies. I would have to determine what I would think would be a risk to the residents of Groveland. If it was a minor misdemeanor, that probably wouldn't disqualify them, but serious criminal offenses. I'm sorry? I would decide. Yes, ma'am. And then they can appeal it to the Board of Selectmen if they didn't like that I denied their permit.
Thank you. Over here.
Doreen Plade, 16 Hillview Drive. I just have two quick questions. As a business owner, I've had to come to the police station to have my fingerprints done to do business with the casinos. But I had to have them redone because of the way that you do the fingerprints. You still do the ink and place down. Are you planning on, well, two, would we be still charged $100 to have fingerprints done for another, like the Mass Gaming Association or Commission? And also, will you be upgrading the way that you do your fingerprinting? Because they didn't like the ways that you did it. I had to go through the state police.
Those are two great questions. The reason we have these out of date, I call it ink fingerprints, is there have been grants. It's very, very expensive to buy the electronic fingerprints. They required, the last couple of grants I've seen, is that you have this fingerprint policy in place. This has to be approved by the Attorney General after. I have to send these prints to the FBI. They're a national fingerprint database. It's not just a Groveland decision here. But so once we get this, if we do get it, I would certainly be looking at upgrading our fingerprint machine to an electronic one.
And would we still be charged $100 because we need to have the fingerprints done for, say, the Mass Gaming Commission, not for the town of Groveland, but because when you deal with the federal government and the state government, you still have to go through this process? Would we be charged $100, or I wasn't charged anything to go to the state police, but
There's no.
I'm still here, so I'm good.
No, that's something we'll still offer for free. That we try to keep it more with residents, just so we're not overwhelmed. But we'll still provide fingerprints for jobs and background checks for no fee. This is more for the list of what I'm thinking more. It's a door-to-door people, ice cream truck drivers, and et cetera. But no, there'll be no fee for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sure, right over here.
Could you explain what the
State your name, please.
Jeffrey Surge,
Thank you.
2 Grinnell Street, Groveland. Could you explain what the firearms fingerprint verification trust fund is, and how is that used? I've been fingerprinted. I licensed carry a firearm and so forth. But what is this trust fund? Half of this fee is gonna go to?
That's a fee that goes back to the state that they maintain.
State gets part of this, whatever we charge. is what-
Yes,
It goes into some fund?
correct.
Anybody know what the fund is used for?
Probably for a rainy day.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure it's to maintain the records and the system, and they do follow up. We have to report what we're doing, so, but I don't know specifically what they do with it.
Thank you. Brian Canzaro, Groveland Commons. Quick question. Well, actually, it's a two-part question, but I'll make it real fast. Articles.
Right into the mic, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Articles 4 and 5, the language that appears before us, is this the actual end language that will appear in town as far as the rules that everybody has to follow by?
Who can answer that for us? I mean, I'm assuming that when these things are written this way, that's what gets voted on, it gets adopted, but let's have somebody,
So that would be an amendment to the bylaws, and unless the Attorney General would to amend it, those would be the...
This would be the
rules.
language that would be put forth. Okay, because my question is this, kind of basic question. Article 4 and Article 5, line item number 1, at the end you have indicated other persons soliciting and canvassing. We all know that high school kids, when they go out to collect money for trips or whatever, they're standing outside businesses, that's called canvassing. And then the other thing is sometimes you have religious organizations go into your home, that's soliciting of some degree. How does this rule apply to those two things?
go ahead. Yep.
Religious organizations are exempt from applying for a permit to go door to door.
What about the Girl Scouts? The Boy Scouts?
I've never had the Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts come to me
Kids selling soccer cards.
Yeah, and a few other things. I've never had those groups come before me for a permit.
But
I don't know that kids go door to door in Groveland.
Okay, our town council has some information you can share with us.
Is this on now?
Yes,
Yes.
it is.
These are licenses for occupations. That's what the statute says. So Girl Scouts, religious organizations, high school students coming to collect for the soccer team, they don't come under this statute. This is solely for licenses for occupations.
okay, thank you.
And down here?
And I just want to clarify, the Firearms Fingerprint Identity Verification Trust Fund is to be maintained solely by the state police to finance fingerprint identification verifications with the records maintained by the FBI. Purpose of making these payments charged shall be directly to the Federal Bureau of Investigations. So it's for the state police to run the background checks and hold the records.
Any other questions? All right. So all in favor of Article 5, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. The majority passes. Article 6, to see if the town will vote to amend Chapter 11, Article 3 of the Town of Groveland General Bylaws by adding a new Section 11-52, Town Meeting Approval of Sewer Extensions that would provide as follows. Section 11-52, no permit for an extension in excess of 500 lineal feet to be located within a public way or within an easement to be dedicated to the town for common sanitary sewer and/or other street and/or other utility purpose shall be approved by the sewer commissioners in any calendar year, unless and until it shall have received approval by the voters assembled at the next town meeting warned within the calendar year following submission of the application for said permit. This bylaw shall not apply to a private pressure sewer installed on private property, the use of which is restricted to service to a lot which has an on-site disposal work system which has been determined by the Groveland Board of Health to be in failure, or take any other action relative thereto. The article is submitted by Deborah Webster and approved by the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen, do you have a recommendation?
Favorable.
Move unfavorable action.
You know, before we do that, can I just, I know if somebody, just bear with me for a second, if we could just have a motion for favorable action, whether you're for it or against it, in a second, it just makes it easier to vote it, okay? I'll give everybody as much time as they want to say all the things, reasons why they don't like it, but if whoever made the motion for unfavorable action, I would ask you, would you please withdraw it?
Withdrawn.
Thank you. Would somebody like to make a motion for favorable action? Do we have a second? All right, motion and second for favorable action. Then your vote will be counted, don't worry, whether you want it or don't want it. So we have discussion.
Hi,
Hi, my name is Debbie Webster. I live at 45 Wood Street. I am the submitter of this article. First of all, I'd like to extend my apologies to the Board of Selectmen. I did not realize that this article was going to create such a furor to you. You've been accused of doing things underhanded, sneakily, trying to get this through without people knowing, and that is not true. So people out there that have presented a lot of misinformation, hopefully I can answer those issues and make people feel comfortable with how they vote, either for it or against it, okay? So I'm going to try to provide, if I could have 5 minutes of your time, to go through just some of the points that I believe need to be addressed. Number one, I have no financial interest in this article. I've had an interest in this article since I served on multiple boards years ago. I currently work in the assessor's office. People come in to me, talk to me all the time regarding development, taxes, many other issues. As being a past member of several boards, including the Affordable Housing Committee, this came to my attention many, many years ago. I did submit it to town meeting probably a decade or so ago, and it was done as a citizen's petition. I do appreciate the Board of Selectmen hearing my arguments for reconsidering this argument today for the developments that we're considering in the future. Whether you agree with the bylaw or not, I do appreciate it being put on the warrant. And just to clarify how warrants are put on the town meeting. Town meeting warrant is opened at a certain length of time before the town meeting is to take place. People, boards, committees, employees can submit warrant articles for consideration at town meeting. We usually meet with the selectmen, which I did. This particular bylaw did not require like public hearings. Some of them do, like planning board, some zoning issues require public hearings in order to move forward and be placed on the town meeting warrant. There are many different types of things we consider at town meeting, and there are different procedures for each and every one. So for this particular warrant article, it was submitted before the deadline. I met with the Board of Selectmen during an open meeting that I believe, I'm not sure if it was televised, I think it was televised and broadcast. I gave my arguments on why I thought they should consider this article, and they could have voted no. And if they had voted no to not put it on the town meeting warrant, then that's when a citizen's petition comes into place, is when the selectmen refuse to put an article on that a board or committee or resident would like town meeting to consider. So barring all the keyboard warriors out there who have accused me personally of trying to do something sneaky or underhanded, I don't work for developers. I don't make my money in real estate transactions. I don't have any financial interest in this at all. As a matter of fact, personally, I just kind of get beat up over these things. So the history of this particular article is, it's actually plagiarized right from the town of Ipswich. They've had it since 1994. They've used it. They've had no legal challenges. They've had their sewer lines extended. They had developments. Today, their bylaw, because it's been on the books so long and town meeting has approved sewer extensions, today it's actually less relevant to them because the sewer has been extended. So to assure people this is something that's in the books, not too many towns make use of it. I think it's a useful tool for us going forward, being faced with the types of developments that may come forward. The Water and Sewer Department, I've heard, well, why weren't they included? They don't want this, because if anyone, we've said this at town meetings before, Water and Sewer Department is not paid for by your taxes. They are what we call an enterprise fund. They have to meet their budget by you, the water rate payer. If they need more money, they raise the rates. The town, we're under the constraints of Prop 2.5. What happens for us is our levy, what's voted on at town meeting, cannot be increased by 2.5% the following year. So for the town, we're constrained. Water department, sewer department, more customers they have, the more revenue they have. They have zero expense because usually the cost to put in a sewer line is paid for by the people who the sewer line is going to go past. And you're going to pay for that whether you want it or not. If that sewer line is voted on and goes through, and your property is what we call bettered by this sewer line, you pay for it, whether or not you use it. So just to let you understand, the town as a whole has to cover any costs of any developments, which we all know school costs are high. We have costs of the roads, we have costs of any trash, and each and every house today, I'm not saying going forward, but each and every house built today, if they have one child in the school system, it's a negative revenue to the town. That's plain facts. You crunch the numbers of what it costs. That's plain facts. People like me who don't have kids in the school system, I'm a moneymaker. So we want to keep our older folks, our people without school. And I'm not saying I'm against development, because we're not. It's healthy for a town to have development on our own terms, where we call the shots. What you want is nice, level, consistent development, because if that happens in that way, then what happens is people who now have children won't have children. New people coming in will take their place, and so it balances off. So development is good. What you don't want to see is huge development all at once, which is what happened to this town in the 50s and 60s. It happened all at once, and that's when zoning was enacted to try to control that. Why now? I've been thinking of this. I wanted it on the annual town meeting warrant last spring. I missed the deadline, so it wasn't on the annual. This came up, the opportunity came up to resubmit it because of the marijuana deadline. That's the reason why we're here today, is mainly because of the marijuana deadline. So some bylaws that might have waited till annual, we were like, why don't we get rid of a few of these, or at least consider them? It'll make annual go that much better, maybe that much shorter. If we don't have all these, as you people who come to annual town meeting know, they can be quite lengthy. So I would like to see us be proactive. And one of the reasons why now, too, is because we do have a project coming up. Sewer is mainly on one side of Center Street. This project's on the other side of Center Street. When the sewer line gets extended to the other side, which is going to be very costly because there's streams and brooks that need to be crossed. And when this project happens, this is going to be proposed as a 40B, so this bylaw will not stop that. Don't get me wrong. This bylaw is not being proposed to stop that. It's a 40B development. 40Bs can ignore our local bylaws. What I'm looking for is, once that's done, is to control the growth that may happen after the fact. I think we need to be proactive rather than reactive. And if anyone's read the paper with the condition of the river and the sewage treatment plants going up and down the river, I think what they need to do is address those first before we add any burdens to the system. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mitchell Croner, 3 Cannon Hill Road Extension. Apologize for you having to hear all that. I'm not quite sure what.
Mitch, you know what? Let's come on.
Yeah,
not
well, I'm just
editorial,
saying.
Just state.
I'm just saying.
State
It's
your case.
unfortunate
Go
we
ahead.
had to hear all that at a special town meeting. In the past, special town meetings are for articles submitted by the chief of police, the planning board, other town officials. I'm not sure why someone from the assessor's office submitted something on water and sewer. It's clearly an article that should have been, whether it's required or not, there should have been discussion between the Board of Selectmen, the Water and Sewer Department, the Planning Board. We just hired a planner for $70,000, so I don't think we need to do planning tonight. So I'm going to move, we table this article, and we'll take it up at another time that's more appropriate. So motion to table.
Two-thirds. All right. So once a motion to table has been made and seconded, we have to act on that motion before we can carry on. It does require a two-thirds majority. So all in favor of tabling the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. I think that's two-thirds. So
Thank you.
I'm going to declare that two-thirds, and the motion is tabled.
Ditto, thank you.
All right. Carrying on. Just bear with me. Article 7, and this will require a two-thirds vote, correct? Yes, okay. Article 7, to see if the town will vote to amend the town zoning bylaws by adding a new section, 7.6, recreational marijuana establishments prohibited, that would provide as follows, and further to amend the table of contents to add section 7.6, recreational marijuana establishments prohibited, and further to amend section 4.5, table of uses, to add recreational marijuana establishments as prohibited uses as follows. 7.6, marijuana establishments prohibited. Consistent with General Laws, Chapter 94G, Section 3A2, all types of non-medical marijuana establishments as defined in 935 CMR 500.002, including marijuana cultivators, independent testing laboratories, marijuana product manufacturers, marijuana retailers, or any other type of licensed marijuana-related businesses hereinafter. Recreational marijuana establishments shall be prohibited within the town of Groveland. This prohibition shall apply in the town upon approval by the voters at a town election. Section 4.5, uses, and you can see what the uses are there that are prohibited and where, and then, or take any other action relative thereto, submitted by the Board of Selectmen. Again, this requires a two-thirds vote to pass. The Planning Board recommends favorable action. The Board of Selectmen recommends favorable action. Do we have a motion and a second? We had a motion and a second. Discussion. Anybody ask questions?
Dick Hodges, still residing at 35 Union Street, Groveland, Turtleville, USA. There's a number of ways of making money. I could see us with a casino out on Strawberry Fields. Another way is saving money. A few years ago, we had a piece of property assessed for $900,000. Took me 3 months to find out it was $900,000 because fortunately I abstained because I didn't think we had enough information, and we didn't. And we actually bought that for $3.7 million. Wouldn't it be nice to have that $3 million somewheres in the town coffer someplace? So it's not just about making money. And I know Northampton made almost $500,000. I mean, we could also turn the post office into a brothel and make money as well. But I'm not so sure I'm going to vote in favor of that either.
You sure?
So there's a practicality to this. There's a practicality that for those of us who smoke marijuana, smoking anything, even banana peels, is unhealthy, but I would defend and support any of you who do. And for those of you who do, you know who your supplier is. You know where your source is. It doesn't matter what the rule, even the federal government says it's illegal, and we haven't settled that yet. Maybe Massachusetts will end up being a country all by itself. The practicality is 9 minutes from this school, I can get all the marijuana I want right down in Georgetown just before I cross into Raleigh. Haverhill's liberal enough. They're talking about putting a shop right there on Merrimack Street. That's going to be less than 5 minutes from my house. So I don't need one in Groveland. We're a small town. I don't need one that's going to be 1 minute away from my house. I do get the financial part. And I think that's where the selectmen are coming from. I'm looking at it from more, and I guess I have to admit, I'm an old fogey. I'm conservative. I'm old-fashioned. And I just think that this is unnecessary. By the way, we as a town have voted this down. The selectmen have voted this down. And this is back in our face again. And it's kind of like, you know, you keep throwing the ball at it, and I guess we're eventually supposed to hit it. I just think that there are...
Can I interrupt just a second, Dick? I just informed, I mean, this does prohibit these. That's what it.
No, I understand that.
Okay, all right,
I understand that. All right. So I think I've said enough about this. I don't like the idea. We have an opiate crisis. Last week, I was looking in the Lawrence Eagle Tribune. I had a 20-year-old and a 30-year-old. It didn't say what they died, but you can guess.
Yeah.
You can guess. And we want to add to that? Unbelievable.
Right. Yep. Further discussion. So I just want to make sure everyone understands what they're voting for. Does somebody up here just want to explain what this means if it passes?
Yeah, I hope the gentleman does understand that the vote is to prohibit, and that the board did recommend favorable action. So I'm not sure where the confusion comes in.
There's no confusion. This is the third or fourth time it keeps coming up. We've already voted it down. You voted it down.
What's that? Yeah, go ahead. Again.
So I will just touch upon that. In November of 2016, the town of Groveland voted favorable for recreational marijuana. We do not have a bylaw in place to prohibit a company coming in and obtaining a license. This bylaw, if the town so chooses here at town meeting, and again at the annual election, to prohibit it would then put the safeguards in place to disallow a license. Should this not pass here and or not pass at the annual election, we would allow recreational marijuana. It is allowed by state law. We have no choice unless we vote to prohibit it, which is what this article and an article on the annual ballot will do. Yes, this is non-medical.
Daniel MacDonald, Wyka Lane. Just for clarity, if this isn't voted on to prohibit, then if somebody came before the Board of Selectmen seeking a license, would they be granted that license by right under the law or within the discretion of the Board of Selectmen?
It's always within the discretion of the Board of Selectmen, of course, because they're the license granting authority. But if the applicant meets all of the criteria and the Board of Selectmen say no, the applicant can appeal.
Right, and that's somebody mentioned, and that means so, correct? And that means so, right? Appeal. Okay. My opinion is we don't need it. This is a good family town. We don't need to promote drugs in our community. It's not for sale, in my opinion. You can get it someplace else. You know, you spend your whole life looking for money. There's never enough. We have enough. We don't need this. There's other avenues to raise money in town.
All right. Thank you. All right. Any other questions? So just so that you're clear, if this passes, allows the selectmen to prohibit. Oh, I'm sorry. Was there somebody else? Okay. Yeah. Can somebody get her a microphone? Thank you.
Suzanne Robertson, and I live at Nichols Village. I just moved here on June 4th, and I almost couldn't sell my condo because of the marijuana in Lowell, and because they were growing it, and because they partied, and the alcohol, and the police aren't available to come every time you had the noise and all of those problems. But the worst part was not knowing if I could sell my unit because of the smell of the marijuana and the partying that went on till 5, 6 in the morning. That's all. I hope we vote against it.
Thank you. Again,
I hope we vote for it.
Exactly. You don't want to get confused. All right. Any further discussion while I think we all know what's going on here. So, again, this requires a 2/3 vote to pass. If it passes, it allows the selectmen to prohibit the sale of marijuana, these establishments. So all in favor of Article 7, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. That, to me, sounds like 2/3 in the affirmative. Okay, so since this is a bylaw in the two-thirds, we actually have to take a hand count. I can't just declare it. I could only declare it unanimous, and it's not unanimous. So again, do we have any counters? Anyone that can help? We need one for this side, one for this side. Thank you. We got one here. Someone over here. Okay, so all in favor of Article 8, hold your hand up, please. I'm sorry, I already moved on. Article 7, thank you. On that side?
Yeah. Now, there are people sitting on the side here where they're not supposed to.
Well, yeah, they came in late, but... Right. Okay, yeah. Yeah, there's nowhere else for them to sit because we ran out of chairs, so... Oh, I guess over here. Yeah, they came in late.
You want to move them and I'll count them again, that's fine.
All right, let's... Yeah, I think we're good. So...
It's a pretty big majority.
I don't know, I see a couple of sketchy people over there. Let's, let's, all opposed, raise your hand.
So at 93 to 8.
All right, the account is 144 in favor, 17 against. That is more than two-thirds. Okay, Article 8, to see if the town will vote to amend the town zoning bylaws, Section 7.5, temporary moratorium on recreational marijuana establishments by deleting the strike-through text and adding the text in bold as follows. Now, this one's kind of lengthy. Does somebody want to make a motion for me not to read it? Or if you want me to read it, I'll... All right. Do you have a second? All in favor of suspending the reading, say aye. Opposed, say no. All right. Again, we'll just, when you're done, take a peek up here and we'll carry on. All right, I'll give him. It'll extend it from... All right, I've just been given the okay to actually summarize this by our town council. All this article does, all these words mean is it extends it from December 31st, which is when the current moratorium will end, until June 30th of 2019, and it gives the selectmen a chance to put it on the ballot. Is that what we're going to do? We've read it. Do we have a motion and a second? Do we have a second? Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right. Again, this bill requires two-thirds vote. All in favor of Article 8, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. That is unanimous. We do not need to count those. Thank you. Article 9. To see if the town will vote to amend the town's general bylaw by adding Chapter 8, Section 23, marijuana establishments prohibited, that would provide as follows, and further to amend the table of contents to add Section 8.23, marijuana establishments prohibited. Section 823, marijuana establishments prohibited, consistent with general laws, Chapter 94G, Section 3A2, all types of non-medical marijuana establishments as defined in 935 CMR 500.002, including marijuana cultivators, independent testing laboratories, marijuana product manufacturers, marijuana retailers, or any other type of licensed marijuana-related businesses shall be prohibited within the town of Groveland. This prohibition shall apply in the town upon approval by the voters at a town election. Submitted by the Board of Selectmen. The Planning Board recommends favorable action. The Board of Selectmen recommends favorable action. Do we have a motion and a second? We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll take a vote. All in favor of Article 9, say aye. Opposed, say no. That is a majority. It passes. So, as far as I can tell, that's it. Does somebody want to make a motion to dissolve this special town meeting? A second? All right. All in favor of dissolving town meeting, say aye. Opposed, say no. Thank you for coming.